All right, so class, tonight we're going to go over Unit 4, Lesson 4 on page 60, okay? So before we start listening to the CD tracks about all these sentences about using must or must not from the CDs, I'd like to direct your attention to the learning objectives, okay? So everybody read in your head about what you expect to learn tonight from this lesson. All right? So now, everybody keep your eyes on the picture number 1 here. Kevin.
60, Lesson 4, Activity 1. 1. Residents must put garbage in dumpsters.
So now you listen to that first picture there. It tells you exactly what's going on with the picture, right? All right.
2. Residents must park in assigned spaces or on the street.
Picture number 3.
3. Residents must keep their dogs on leashes and their cats indoors.
4.
4. Residents must not smoke in common areas.
5.
5. Residents must not leave personal belongings in the laundry room.
6.
6. Residents must not make noise in the stairwells.
All right, so now, activities 1 is done. Now look at activity 2. It said read the sentences below, meaning these sentences right here, right? And it says check, right? Put a check, the sentence on the right that has a similar meaning. So you have all this meaning on this right side. You have to pick which one goes along with number 1, right? For example, I'm going to read you this, number 1, right here. You tell me which one on the right that you should put a check mark. Ready? All right, number 1. Residents must park in assigned spaces. Which one on the right do you think you should put a check? Have to, correct? Have to park. So it's the same meaning with must. That's why the objective tonight is that you're learning how to use must and use the other similar meaning like have to. Okay? All right. Number 2 sentence here. Residents must not smoke in common areas. So which one, the top or the bottom here? The bottom. Residents may not smoke, right? So they must not smoke. They may not smoke. Not don't have to smoke. See, don't have to smoke is a different meaning. May not smoke is similar meaning with this sentence. Okay? So make sure you understand the similar meaning with must, have to, or sometimes you have to say may, depending on the sentence on the left, right? All right, so now activity 2 is done. Now I want you to look at activity 3 now. Activity 3. It said notice the grammar. Underline. Underline meaning draw a line across, right? Draw a line across must and must not in the rules in activity 1. Now activity 1 is right here, all the 6 pictures right here, right? It said what follows must and must not. So for example, you look at picture 1. Everybody eyes on picture 1, right? Say residents must put garbage in dumpsters. So you underline the word must, right? It's already underlined for you. So number 1 is pretty much done for you. Now number 2, let me call someone to see if you can tell me the word you're supposed to underline, right? How about Hayani? Can you tell us which word you would underline for picture number 2? Must. So you underline must, correct? Now, picture number 3. Let's say Jose Rojas. Number 3, which word would you underline? Must. So it's that residents must keep their dogs on leashes and their cats indoors, right? Now, number 4. Let's see if you follow this direction correctly, right? How about Melvin right there? Melvin, can you tell us which words or words you would underline for picture 4?
Residents must not smoke in common areas.
Okay, so which word or words would you underline? Must and what? Must not. 2 of them go together. So make sure you underline 2, right? Must not. Okay? Now, picture number 5. Sylvia, can you tell us, can you read the sentence and also tell us the 2 words that you underline?
Must not.
Okay, read the sentence for us first.
Residents must not leave personal belongings in the laundry room.
Okay, and you underline?
Must not.
Good job. Yes, you underline must not. All right, picture number 6, right? Last but not least here. Fiona, can you read the sentence 6 for us and tell us which word you would underline?
Residents must not make noise in the stairwells.
Stairwells. Must not. So you underline must not. Great. All right, now, I want you to direct your attention to page 62. And look at this chart on the top here. Everybody look at the chart up here only. Do not look at anything below here. Just make sure you focus on this example, because this example shows you how to use must and have to, okay, for requirements. So anytime when you say anything that has to do with requirements, you have to use must or have to, okay? For example, look at the chart here. It says residents must have to, and then you have to tell me which one that goes with must or have to, right? In this case, you have residents must park in assigned spaces, correct? And then the next sentence, employees. Employees what? Have to wear safety glasses, okay, have to. So as you can see, must and have to are very similar in meaning, right? However, you need to understand, right, that must is stronger. So you need to understand, using must, when you use must, right? When you use must, we know there's requirements too, right? But it's stronger. We use must to indicate the meaning stronger, right? So must has to do with stronger. You use must, okay? Now, must also is more common in writing than conversation. So when you write must, right? Like you say, I must study the exam, right? Or I must study before the day of the exam, right? I must study the night before exam. Okay? And exam stands for what? Examination. Okay? So that's something else you need to know. Whenever you see the word exam, it means examination. It's the same word. So I must, now look at this word must now, right? I must study. It's not just I have to, because I'm doing the writing now. I'm doing writing. Remember we said we use must to indicate that stronger, but also using must in writing. In conversation, you can use have to, right? I have to drive to work, for example, in speaking, okay? But in writing, you use must in writing, okay? Now, must also goes with must not, correct? Because we have affirmative, we also have negative, right? So the chart in the middle here says must not and may not for prohibition. Anything is prohibited, right? Prohibition, by the way, is a noun, right? Right? And the adjective is prohibited. So as you can see, the part of speech is also important for you to know, so that you know which word you should use in your sentence. Okay, so this is prohibition, prohibited. Also prohibit too can be a verb, correct? Prohibit. Okay, one is a noun, one is a verb, one is an adjective. All right, so now we go with may not or must not for prohibition, for example. Must not means that a person is prohibited from doing something. Okay, so something that has to do with prohibition here. It is stronger than can't and may not. Stronger. Okay, for example, look at the example here. It says residents. Now tell me which one you should use. Residents what? And then run in the hallways. What would you say? Residents what? Residents may not run in the hallways, correct? All right. How about employees? Employees what? Employees must not use company cars on weekends. And why? Why do we say that employees are not allowed? Because we say prohibition has to do with not allowed too, right? Why are they not allowed to use a company's car during the weekends? Why?
Because it's for
They're allowed? Yeah.
money for the office, for the work, the money.
Yeah, that means the car can only be used during business days or hours, like operation, business operation, right? So you, for example, you work for the company Monday to Friday only. It's a full-time job, and you need to use the company's vehicle, the van, to drive from one place to the next. You are allowed to drive the car, right? If you work for that particular department and you need the vehicle to drive, to transport things from one place to the next, then you're allowed to drive, right? During the business operation. However, weekend, Saturday and Sunday, you don't work. So if you don't work, you're not allowed, right? You may not use a company's cars on weekends, or you must not use. What do you think? Which one is the correct one? Employees must not or may not? Must not. Well, in writing, you have to say must not then, right? You have to say employees must not use company's cars on weekends. Okay? Now the last one, students. Students what? Something about talk during the test. May not talk during the test. That means, again, may not means not allowed. Okay, so make sure you understand not allowed and also prohibited are pretty similar in meaning. Okay, very similar. The difference is when you use must, it's in writing. In writing, you use must a lot. Okay? Now, then the next one, don't have to for requirements. Okay? It says you use the subject of I, or you, or we, or they. Right? Any of those subjects, you can use those subjects and go along with the verb, right? Right? You have to do the verb, follow the verb, but also make sure you know which one you're using, right? Do, those are helping verbs, remember? Like does, do and does are helping verbs. Make sure you understand those part of speech too, okay? It's important to know. And then when you have subject, I, you, we, they, which do we use? Don't or doesn't? Don't. Right. Anytime you use I, you, we, they, we always use with don't, do not. And don't stands for do not. So do not have to what? Wear a suit to work. Right? Sometimes you're not working in the office, you don't have to wear suits. Right? It's a lot more comfortable that way, huh? You wear pretty loose outfit. Okay? Now, next one, you have to pay attention to the subject now. The subject is he or she. When we talk about he or she, we're talking about third person singular. Third person, the third person. So he or she, what else? What happens? Doesn't have to wear a suit to work. Okay? So now you see this chart gives you a lot of very clear explanations about when to use must, when to use must not or may not, and also know when to use don't have to. Okay? In sentences. Grammar exercise. All right, so that's pretty good. You can see the whole page right there. Perfect. So then we're going to scroll it down, okay, in a minute. As you can see, there's an objectives here too, okay? The objective says students learn how to use must. We just went over the explanation about how to use must from the book. Or have or has to, depending is third person singular or you, I, we, they. Then you use have, correct? Or use must not or may not and don't have to in sentences. So everybody read the sentence, every sentence you read it, and then you have to decide. The answers are all here. You have to pick the correct one, okay? Pick the correct answer from the parentheses. So you read the sentence, so you decide which one goes into the blank, okay? So why don't we do this as a whole class too? And I know some of you are already kind of like eyeballing, meaning you kind of like skim through each sentence and kind of get an idea already what answer choice you should pick, right? So let's go over one or two sentences together. Number one, when it comes to having a fire, everyone inside the building blank. And then you have to give me the correct answer. Evacuate immediately. Now let's call Augustine. Augustine, which answer would you pick? Evacuate means leave right away. What's the answer? Must. Okay, so number one, the answer is must. That's correct right there. Number two, Gina, read the sentence, please.
The students in the class may not pay attention to what the teacher is teaching.
Now read it again to make sure it makes sense though. See, this is good for you to read the sentence over and then you listen to yourself to see, wait a minute, does that make sense?
The students in the class may not pay attention to what the teacher
is lecturing. Okay, so your answer is may not, right? You use may not pay attention, right? But can we have another answer? So in this case, Gina is just assuming that the students are not paying attention. Maria, have to, right? The students in the class have to pay attention, right? So now you're using have to, right? Have to. The students in the class have to pay attention to what the teacher is lecturing. And lecturing means teaching. Okay, that's another synonym word. Synonym word for lecturing means teaching. All right, number three. Let's see. Claudia, can you read the sentence, please?
Now that we have more rain this year, the farmers don't have worry about the shortfall of water getting into the growing field.
Good job. Yeah, you picked the choice don't have to, right? Don't have to. Okay? And the answer is correct because it says now that we have more rain this year. That means we have more rainfall, right? The farmers don't have to worry about the shortfall of water getting into the growing field. All right. And then number four. Jose.
When the company already come up with the working schedule, the employer may not exchange shift
with each other. So may not. May not. Good. Number 5. Number 5, let's see. Juan.
The baseball team who is
Trailing.
from behind by 2 runs is
In ninth inning.
9 evening.
Now again, you talk about writing here, right? Writing, in writing. Which one should you use?
May not ready to put 3 runs to win the game.
Now again, pay attention to the sentence you just read. If you choose the answer, it doesn't make sense. The choice you just pick, may not, right? When you use may not, it doesn't make sense, right? So what's the correct answer? Hey, Yanni? Must, right? So must is correct. Again, in writing, you use must. It's stronger. Remember? We just explained about must is used stronger in sentences, but also it makes sense too. Because if you have 2 teams playing and team A is leading and team B has last chance in the 9th inning, they have to what? Put up more runs, right, to win the games. More, must. So the answer is must. Well, so what if they don't put up more runs? What can happen? If they don't put up 3 runs to win the game, what can happen to them? If they came up with 2 runs only, what happens? They lose the game. They lose the game, right? Because that's their last chance. All right? Number 6. Sheila feels strongly that she blank cut down her weight for 15 pounds by the end of the year to meet her goal. Kevin, what's the answer for number 6?
Has to.
That she has to, right? Has to. So it's the correct answer here. Has to. Again, has to goes with what? 3rd person singular. The verb is has. We talk about Sheila. Sheila is a 3rd person singular. So it goes with has to. Okay? Number 7. Number 7, how about Wilmer?
All the students at San Mateo Adult Schools have support our school to maintain our educational
Strength.
showing Bay Area.
Okay, so he picked have to, correct? Have to is correct. Again, have to relates to what? Plural subjects, right? The plural subject is what? What's the plural subject? Students. Students, right? The sentence says students. All the students, right? At San Mateo Adult School have to support our school to maintain our educational strength in the Bay Area. Okay, so we're almost done. We have number 8. Let's go with Shibing, number 8, please.
In order to protect the security,
security
and interest of the
Crimea
citizen,
right.
the United States have to develop effective foreign
Diplomatic solutions
to help people in
Crimea
to regain their power and freedom from the
intrusion of the Russia. Good. So has to, right? Has to, because we talk about United States, right? United States is the 3rd person, sort of like 3rd person singular, because we talk about our country, right? All right. And number 9. Number 9. Everyone, okay, let me see. Everyone, can I have this Jose? Jose, yeah. Jose, number 2.
Okay.
Everyone.
Everyone may not
Okay, go on.
may not take into serious account to protect their own health, so that they don't have to worry about the health cost which can
potentially
take
their tolls,
their tolls with financial
financial.
disaster.
Right. Now, your second choice is correct. Let's go back to number 1 here. Everyone. Everyone what? Has to. So the answer for number 9 is has to, because we talk about everyone, right? Everyone has to, right? And then the second answer to that is, second answer, so that they what? They don't have to. Don't have to. Okay? So those are your answers right there for number 9. Okay? And then number 10, the last one. Let's go with Jesus. Number 10.
Visitors who don't live in the apartments may not parking their cars in the assigned space that belong to the renters who pay for their rent.
Okay, so the answer is? Is that must not? We don't have must not here. We have may not. May not.